Are cars investments? This is something that I've always wanted to be true. I think in some cases it can be true, but I'm going to talk about what I think some of the best investments for cars are, and if you should be really thinking about cars as investments. First off, let's just talk about the facts. Most cars, like 99% of cars, are going to depreciate immediately once you drive them off the lot. These are things like Teslas, your average Mercedes, your average BMW, all of these sort of, quote, normal cars are going to really have a heavy depreciation curve the second you drive them off the lot. This is because they are pretty mass produced. There's no wait list, there's no sense of urgency. And if you want to get a brand new Toyota or you want to get a brand new Mercedes, in this day and age, you can pretty much just walk into a dealer and you can get one. So the law of supply and demand sort of dictates there that there's enough supply to meet all of the demand, and thus you aren't really going to have something that appreciates in value. The last 2 or sort of 4 years, when we were in COVID, it was completely different. Over the last 4 years, because we were in COVID and things really changed on the supply and demand side, it was a unique time for the car market, but it doesn't mean that we can just expect that to happen again and again, and we can expect that to be a new way of life. When COVID first came on, the supply of lots of cars was really sort of tightened. There weren't a lot of whole new cars that you could just go and buy because of the supply chain. Additionally, a lot of used cars were also in demand. Because of the limited new cars, people then looked to used cars. And the market, everyone was kind of inside it. It really shrunk the supply greatly. So during this time, it pretty much meant that all of the market was inflated because the supply was so low, the demand was so high. It made it so that your average car was actually not losing a lot of money. This was great for a lot of people. A lot of people loved this. They got a car shortly before COVID and all of a sudden their car is worth a ton more money. A lot of collectible cars, like even the S2000, a lot of Porsche, a lot of older Ferraris, it seems like everything in the car market just shot up. It was a very similar pace to the normal stock market, and it really just seemed that no matter what you bought, no matter what car you bought, it was going to go up. While those times were definitely an interesting time to be a part of, I certainly benefited from that. I had an Audi S4 that I bought for, I think, $13,900. I drove it for about a year and a half, and I sold it for $18,000. So, this is a huge way that I actually benefited from sort of the COVID, I guess, upswing or a smaller amount of supply. But right now in 2024, we're starting to see the more normal effects come back into play. 2023 was the first year where used cars actually went down in price, and we can expect to see the exact same thing in 2024. When you start to think about cars as investments, you look back at history. Think about if you bought a Lamborghini Countach, a Ferrari 250 California, right? All these incredible cars that were inexpensive in the early 2000s are now $1 million cars. I mean, look at the Carrera GT. I remember in probably 2012, around there, you could buy a Carrera GT for $300,000. Now it's $1 million and a half dollar car. So cars like that have been an investment. And some cars have actually made people more money, had a higher ROI than even the stock market. But is that every car? No. There's been so many cars, like even the Lamborghini Aventador. It's depreciated since 2014. The Ferrari 458, while they've kind of held their values, they've still depreciated from when they were new. Most 458s were $300,000. They're trading now around $200,000, $250,000. A Porsche Turbo S. This is a car that, again, although it's kind of held its value, it's still depreciating. So I think you need to be very selective when you're starting to think about buying a car for the investment value. Of course, no one can claim that they know what's going to happen. We honestly just don't know. Anyone who does claim they know exactly what's going to happen, probably stop listening to them. But the overall market trend and the market past history, you can kind of have a couple clues. So looking at the overall trend of the market, more and more cars are having smaller engines and electrification, some EVs, some hybrids, and stuff like that. In general, that's leading to a demand of people who really love the true driving experience, the driving experience that is a large engine and oftentimes an engaging driving experience that is a manual transmission. So when something is typically taken away, for example, they're not going to make Ferrari V12s forever, Lamborghini V12s forever. If you widen the horizon, you look at the next 10 to 20 years, there's going to be a day where V12s aren't coming out simply because of the fact that they'll be banned. No matter how fuel efficient you make a car, at some point there will be restrictions, and we've already seen that. The new McLaren Elva has a 6-cylinder, right? The new Ferrari 296 has a 6-cylinder. And we're seeing this kind of across the board. The new Lamborghini Huracan replacement, it doesn't have a V10, has a twin-turbo V8. So as those kind of come more and more into play, and we have a smaller and smaller market of nice example large engines and engaging driving experiences that you can't buy on the new market, there's going to become a sort of collectability about the cars. Just like all the stuff that you can't buy anymore becomes more and more collectible. So these awesome cars, these cars that have relatively bigger engines that they just won't make anymore, cars that have a manual transmission and are something really unique, will simply be unmatched by the stuff that comes out today, not because it's the best in the world, not because it's some incredible thing that is just awe-inspiring, but simply because they don't make them anymore. So you look at all of these cars, the Ferrari 458, the Porsche GT3 with the manual, and you look at the combination and you kind of look at the foreseeable future of the market. These types of cars ultimately probably will retain their value, because as inflation takes hold and money becomes less and less valuable, assets will, in some cases, hold their value better than just having a dollar bill. So I think in general, you really can't look at the entire car market as sort of like an investment grade asset, but you can look at some very specific vehicles and you can take measured risk for what you truly believe will happen in the market. And you have to look at, how long am I going to keep this car? Is my goal just to make money? What am I doing here? You have to look at your objectives. You have to look at the overall market, the overall sort of world, and see, okay, I think this car is going to be a winner. I think this car is going to be a loser. You should never buy a car just for the investment value, I believe. Of course, that is something a lot of people do, but I think if you're going to own something like a car, use it. Have some fun in it. Take it on an adventure, because as cool as it is sitting in a garage, these cars just work better when they're actually being driven. And a couple hundred miles, a couple thousand miles is not going to hurt a car. I think everyone should be having some fun. So don't go out and buy a crazy expensive car and just assume it's going to go up in value. But also don't sleep on the fact that some cars will become more and more collectible and probably will continue to go up in value. So as always, I really know nothing about what's actually going to happen. These are just my independent personal thoughts. Don't make any crazy choices based on what I say, but let me know what you think in the comments. Am I totally off? Like, do you think cars are just going to continue to go up and up and up? Or do you think most people are going to be used to that sort of depreciation curve? Are there any cars you could guarantee would be worth more money in 5 years, 10 years? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.